Now for the track guide. Before starting, if you want to improve at a quicker pace, check out my courses, link will be in the video description. Now going into the track guide itself, for turn 1, you want to open up the corner as much as you can, and notice that there's a kink in the wall right here where the space just opens up. You want to position the car in such a way that at turn in you're using all the space. In terms of reference for braking, you want to brake slightly earlier than that opening, or you can use this big crack in the tarmac, this line around here. Slightly before it, you're going to be applying the brakes. You're going to go to this point where the road opens up as much as you can. And now we're going to turn more and more and more. We will go to 4th gear before hitting this yellow line, 4th gear right now. And once you turn more into the corner, you'll start be pushing the throttle around this point on the track. So it's a lot earlier than the apex. This is the point where we get the maximum amount of rotation quite early, and pushing the throttle, you should be aiming to get so close to the wall in the portion where there's this cone here, like you can see it. Very close here, you should be having 100% throttle at this point in time, and then just managing the speed, so you're using all the track. Make sure you're not using a lot of corrections, make sure you're just pressing the throttle once, and then you're using all the space on the exit. You're getting very close to the wall on entry and very close to the wall mid corner. That's super important. Now for the next corner, you should be keeping this right side. You will try to have the car with a straight steering wheel angle. Past the 3 cone mark, you're going to be pressing the brakes. You're going to brake quite aggressively in a straight line in 4th gear, then 3rd as you get closer to the apex. Make sure you're riding a little bit this blue and white curb, but on the exit you should be putting your 2 tires on it, and then when you land you should be cutting the next one like this. Super important to cut those 2 curbs. You can cut a lot more the second curb than the first, and when you're cutting the second curb, do a small lift in throttle as you can see here. It will help with the balance. Now the next corner in front of us will lead to a big straight, so it's important to do it right. We need to open up the corner as much as we can, and notice there's this blue and white curb on the right side. Make sure you're using that, and when you don't see it anymore, then you're gonna start applying the brakes. Make sure you're opening up as much as you can, so the car should really be near the grass with the right tires. And then in 3rd gear, you don't want to brake hard, but you want to trail brake for longer. So still on the braking, still on the brake, still trailing. And then when you get closer to this curb, you should be pushing the throttle. And once again, we're gonna jump a little bit on this curb like this, small tap. This is what's gonna help us to basically have an early throttle application, which helps here. But if you look here on the brake trace, you notice that we don't brake that hard. It's quite soft. It's just to make the front tires point, and then when you go on throttle, it's very aggressive. And now you're gonna be gaining all that time on this back straight. And for the hairpin right here, reference for braking will be this white line in front of the car, or the 4 cones mark. You want to brake hard, 85-86%. Keep the steering wheel straight all the way up until you go past the 1 cone. When you're hitting this curb, the white and blue curb, you should be turning more into the corner. You should be in 3rd gear, then going to 2nd, and make sure you're using a lot of steering lock. So make sure you're steering here a lot, because you have that grip, and you need to cut even a little bit of the dirt near the apex like that. In 2nd gear, cutting here as well. Super important to minimize the distance traveled. That's gonna gain you time. And now we're heading towards the next corner. Bring the car all the way towards the left side, positioning it for the braking. Once again, braking at the 4 cones mark, braking in a straight line hard, 82% in this case, and start turning after the number 1 cone. In 3rd gear, very close to that curb on the inside. Make sure you're clipping it a little bit, but don't go completely over it. It's just a small touch, but it's super important to touch it. And then pushing the throttle. Don't go all the way on the left side with the tires on this curb, because it will make this corner uncomfortable, because now we're cutting it like that. But if you're more towards the left on the exit, it will feel very uncomfortable and you will have to do a throttle lift. This should be flat. And now preparing the next one, you should be on the right side, and we will go diagonally braking. So we're braking here, you see, from this direction before the number 3 cone. braking like that, using this curb on the entry on the left side, and in third gear once again giving it a slight touch on the curb on the inside of the corner, using all the track on the exit. And notice that we're not braking very hard for this one, but once again we really have to emphasize trail braking in order to get that rotation. Now we're heading towards the last sector of the track. Preference for braking here will be before number 3 cone. You're gonna brake in a straight line like that. You're gonna be trail braking, and you want to use a little bit more this curb on the inside, more than we used in this lap. You should be having your right tires on it, and in the center of the track you should be pushing the throttle. This throttle, you should have the goal to reach 100% throttle, and then when you turn into this corner you will just drop the throttle a little bit. You reach this part of the track where the question is now, where do you brake and how much track to use? And the easiest way to do it is by noticing this lighter shape here on the left side, see? And when you start to cover this shape so that the first part of it is not visible anymore, then you're gonna start applying the brakes. Basically, when you're braking, you should only see this smaller shape of the light tarmac, like this, and you shouldn't go all the way to it. So this is all the space that we can use. In fourth gear, third gear, as you get closer, notice that we don't need to brake very hard. We're barely brushing the brakes around here, so 25-30%, and being super early on the throttle. This is key. Don't wait until you hit the curb to push the throttle. Push it way earlier. Make sure you're using all the track so that you can gain all this time on the big straight. The earlier you're on the throttle, the more time you will be gaining, because every millisecond is amplified 10 times because of this back straight. And now we're heading towards the final part of the lap. For here, reference for turning will be the number 3 cone. We start turning flat out. At number 2, we start applying the brakes like this. And we want to have another reference here, this white line. This will be our checkpoint. You want to have the center of the car, the line in the center of the car, basically. You see, we have half of the car on the left, half on the right. And then we follow this line a little bit, and then we start bringing the car towards the right side. In fourth gear, third gear a little bit later. And now we're looking at this gold line. You want to follow it very closely before the bridge, and basically at this Jordan sign on the right side. Let me go a little bit backwards so you can see it. This one right here. When you're seeing it, you should be pushing the throttle. Now look at this wall. You get very close to it, keeping a tight line here as well near the goal line, and the car should be naturally pushed all the way to the wall on the exit. And in short, that's the lap. So I hope you have a nice week around here, and looking forward to see you in the next one. Bye bye.